Hey, I'm Kevin. I'm 27, and until recently, maybe 2 years ago, I clung to this hope that my family would finally see me as something other than their go-to punching bag. But you know what? People don't just magically change, no matter how much you want them to. Sometimes they dig in their heels even deeper, and when that happens, all you can do is give up hoping and start remembering who you really are. I was the oldest of three kids. Then came Rachel, the golden girl, and Eric, the baby brother too young to even be a player in the family drama. To outsiders, we probably looked like a picture-perfect family. Those holiday photos, the nice comments on Facebook, the whole social media charade. But the truth was, I was always the one cleaning up everyone's messes. Like when Rachel totaled her car in college, I emptied my savings account to keep it hush-hush so she wouldn't lose her internship. Or when Mom forgot to pay the electric bill for 3 straight months and tried to pin it on Eric's video game habit. I just quietly paid it. No thanks, nothing. Just a shrug in this. Yeah, that's what family's for, right? I did it for years. Every favor, every single dollar, all the emotional crap I shouldered without a peep. I figured that if I just kept being there for them, maybe, just maybe, they'd finally be proud of me. That whole idea blew up in my face last November on what should have been a perfectly normal day. So Rachel and Brandon were engaged. I wasn't super tight with her, but he always seemed. Pretty boring, you know. Like the kind of guy who wore those awful boat shoes all the time. But honestly, I was happy for her. I kind of hoped maybe things would start looking up for all of us. I texted her congrats, said I'd help out if she needed anything, and even offered to pay for their honeymoon as a wedding present. She texted back a quick thanks, and I didn't think much of it. Then, a couple of weeks ago, my mom called while I was just about done with work. I still can't tell if she meant for her nasty tone to come out or if she really just didn't care if I heard it. "Don't even think about coming to the wedding," she basically barked before I could even say hi. "Rachel's finally going to have the perfect day she deserves, and we're not letting you mess it up." I was just silent for a sec, trying to figure out what was going on. I wasn't planning on anything dramatic, no big speeches or anything. I was just going to show up, clap at the right times, maybe give a few hugs. "Ruin it how?" I asked her. Slowly, her voice went all sugary, that voice she always used when she was about to be mean. "Kevin, you've never really looked the part, have you? You know that, right? You always dress like you're going to a job interview and not a good one. And the way you just kind of hang around, it's weird. Rachel doesn't want you at the wedding, she made me tell you, and honestly, I feel the same way. I felt like I couldn't get any air. My head was spinning. After everything I'd done for them, all the ways I tried to be there for them, and they're telling me I'm not even good enough to be at the wedding. Like just being there in the background would somehow mess up their perfect little picture. I could hear Rachel in the background, too. All airy and dismissive, giggling like it was all some big joke. "Oh, and tell him he can still send a gift," she yelled over. "He's good for that much, at least." I didn't say a word. I didn't argue or try to explain myself. I just smiled. It was the same fake smile I used to give my old boss when he tried to pile his work on me. The one that says, "You have no clue what's coming." "Yeah, sure," I said, keeping my voice casual. "I get it." She hung up without even saying goodbye. I opened my laptop, logged into the joint account I made for their honeymoon fund, and zapped that $4,200 right back into my account. Took all of 5 seconds. I grabbed a screenshot and sent it to my mom with a little note. "Wouldn't want to spoil anything." She didn't reply, but I know she saw it. She's always glued to her phone. And here's the kicker, the thing they really don't know. Last year, I quietly invested in some mid-range event spaces that were having a tough time after COVID. Turns out, one of them is the exact same place Rachel's been bragging about booking all over Instagram. Lakeview Ridge. You know, the place with the big white gazebo and that super expensive brunch. When I saw it in her post, I immediately went to my emails to make sure. Yup, it was listed in our portfolio. Not only did I co-own the place, I also had the final say on big events like, say, weddings. At first, I thought about just shutting it down right away, canceling the whole thing and watching them freak out. But that felt too easy, too fast. They wouldn't get it. They wouldn't understand. I wanted them to stay in their own little bubble of happiness for a while longer. I wanted them to put up those countdown posts, show off the dress fittings, and fight over the seating charts. I wanted them to giggle behind my back just a few more times. So instead, I've been observing, waiting patiently. I made a few low-key calls to the event coordinator at Lakeview Ridge, telling them to let me know if there were any problems or issues with the Carsons' wedding. I went over the contract, and let me tell you, it's rock solid except for one tiny detail hidden deep in the small print. The full payment is due 10 days before the event, or the reservation is automatically lost. Not delayed, not moved. Gone. The wedding's in 12 days, and this morning no final payment has been made. I didn't have to do a single thing, just wait. Watch. Let them keep thinking of me as an afterthought, as something they'd rather cut out of the photos. So there they were, all smiles for the camera, clueless. They had no idea the very ground beneath their feet was laid by someone they decided wasn't good enough to be with them. It's crazy how fast people forget where their money comes from once it's not being handed to them quietly anymore. After that phone call, radio silence from Rachel and Mom. Not even a pathetic maybe you could come to the rehearsal dinner to try and smooth things over. Nothing. Just this icy silence and their smug faces. But that's the thing about silence, isn't it? It makes you hear all the things they're not saying. The next few days, I did something I hadn't done in ages. I lived my life without them. I got back in the gym, cleaned my place, even treated myself to a nice dinner out. For once, my phone wasn't buzzing with their endless requests for favors or desperate pleas for cash. It was peaceful, a quiet that felt like I'd really earned it, like the calm before a storm I was totally in control of. Then, 5 days before the wedding, boom, a message from Amy, the venue coordinator. Amy's been at Lakeview Ridge forever. She's seen more family drama than a shrink. She's sharp, cool as a cucumber, and maybe a little too perceptive. Her message was all sweetness and light, but the real meaning was obvious. Something like, "Hey Kevin, just checking in. The Carsons still haven't paid. I've sent 2 reminders, nothing. Let me know what you want to do." So the deadline was looming, and I figured I should give her a call. We talked it over, me keeping it all business-like, you know. I told her straight up if they didn't pay by the deadline, the gig was off. That's the policy, simple as that. Amy kind of hesitated. She was like, "Are you sure? They're really counting on this, you know? They've got like 15 other vendors lined up, a whole string quartet for the live stream, and they're even planning on releasing doves during the ceremony." I just gave a little smile. "Doves, huh? Fancy." She chuckled nervously. "Okay, I'll stick to the rules." 2 days left. I could have warned them, you know, sent Rachel a quick text. "Hey, just a heads up, your payment's late." But I didn't, because let's be honest, they made it pretty clear I wasn't exactly part of the family. I wasn't important enough for a picture, not even a chair at the wedding. Just the guy with the wallet, that's it. And that's when I decided, screw it. I'd let their own mess sort itself out. The day of the deadline, I took the day off. Pampered myself with a killer breakfast, eggs, coffee, and bacon so crispy it practically sang. Checked my email around noon. Nothing, zip, zero, no last-minute plea for mercy. Just silence. Total radio silence. That evening, Amy canceled the booking. Then at 7:18 p.m., my phone rang. A number I didn't know, let it go to voicemail. 30 seconds later, it rang again, same number. Finally, I answered. "Hi, is this Kevin? This is Teresa." I'm the wedding planner for Rachel's big day. I almost snorted. Of course, there was a problem. "Yeah," I said, trying to keep my voice even. "It's just a little hiccup with the venue." I explained that there was some computer problem and their final payment hadn't gone through. "Probably just a glitch on their end," I said, "but we wanted to make sure everything was still set for Saturday." I sat back, staring at the ceiling. No computer glitch. The payment deadline had already passed. The venue was free again, dead silence. I could hear her breathing and some yelling in the background. Then she spoke again, all shaky and nervous. "But surely you can make an exception, right? I mean, it's her wedding. The dress is already made. Guests are flying in from all over." "Teresa," I said softly, "I get it, but the contract's the contract. They should have paid on time if they wanted to keep the date. We sent tons of reminders." She mumbled something, then just whispered, "I'll talk to Rachel." Less than an hour later, the phone rang again. This time it was Mom. "Kevin," she yelled, no hello or anything. "What's going on with the venue? Rachel's a mess. They said you canceled it." I couldn't believe it. "Me, I didn't cancel anything. The deadline was missed. I just happen to know the person who runs the place." "You knew and you didn't say anything? You let this happen." "Let what happen?" "You mean I should have just covered for their mistake?" Seriously, a beat of silence hung in the air before she said it, all icy and sharp. "You really hate your sister that much?" "No," I said, slow and deliberate. "I'm just done letting you all walk all over me. You said I'd mess up the pictures, so I took myself out of the frame." "It's always about you," she snapped. "No," I mumbled, quieter this time. "It's about you. You made it about me the second you decided I wasn't good enough for a seat at your perfect wedding. I'm just playing your game." She hung up. Click, dead air. That night, Rachel texted. No hello, no cute little smelly face, just this, "You couldn't have given us a heads up." Then a second text popped up. "Wow, you're such a bitter little guy." I didn't bother replying, didn't need to. The next part, all me. The wedding venue was gone. Poof, their dream wedding, no longer a thing. Vendors bylaid, those doves, staying put in their cages, and they still had no clue how screwed they really were. While they frantically searched for a new place, I was sitting pretty with a little secret. They thought the worst was over. They had no idea I was just getting started, not even close. The next morning, a dozen texts and 3 missed calls, 2 from Rachel, 1 from Brandon. Some were guilt trips, all family's family, Kevin, no matter what. Others were straight-up insults. I can't believe you're so petty you'd ruin your own sister's wedding. I sat there with my coffee, scrolling through their wedding stuff. I just kept reading, but I didn't say a word. They had no idea what was really going on. Rachel and Brandon, they'd spent the whole past year acting like their wedding was some huge royal affair. Fancy engagement photos in magazines, a website with a countdown timer, the works. They even had this whole color scheme, 4 shades of that pale champagne color. It wasn't just a pretty place, Lakeview Ridge was their whole brand. It was everywhere. Every single post, their Pinterest board, even the invites had this watercolor painting of the gazebo. It was all so perfectly planned, this fantasy wedding. And guess what? It was all built on borrowed money and a whole lot of other people's kindness, including mine. They never told a soul I was paying for their honeymoon. They took the money, smiled for their Instagram photos, and pretended like Brandon just magically came up with it. The craziest part? I was actually happy for them. I really wanted them to have an amazing start, but apparently I didn't fit into their perfect little picture. Now, with just 4 days left, the clock's ticking. They're running around like crazy chickens trying to find a new place, and I know exactly what that's like. You can't find a decent venue on such short notice, especially one big enough for all their guests. And even if they do, they've got to completely redo everything, the flowers, the whole ceremony setup. The worst thing. For months, they went on and on about this amazing deal they got at Lakeview Ridge. The nerve. They had no idea Amy gave them that sweet deal because I asked her to. I just wanted to give them a gift without making a big deal of it. But now that they canceled, that price was gone, poof. If they even got back in, it'd be double the cost if we let them back in at all. Later that day, Brandon called. Hey Kevin, listen, things have been a little tense, but I wanted to clear the air man to man. I didn't say a word, just let the silence hang there. He hemmed and hawed a bit. Look, Rachel's really upset. This wedding, it's huge for her, for both of us. I'm sure we can work something out. You know, you've got connections at the venue. Maybe you could pull some strings, get us back in. Brandon, I said, keeping my voice even, did you know I paid for your honeymoon? He was quiet for a beat. What? The honeymoon, I repeated. That resort package you two posted all over social media, the one with the fancy villa and private chef, that was me. $4,200. I sent the money 2 months ago. I didn't know that. Of course you didn't, I said, because your fiancé didn't want you to know. She told me I ruined the photos, that she didn't want me there, so I took the honeymoon back. And now he wants me to magically fix their wedding. Another long pause. I pictured him there, staring blankly at a wall like a kid who just realized he hadn't done his homework. His voice was a lot softer now. I'm not trying to pick sides, he mumbled, but I don't think you understand how stressed Rachel is. It's her big day. I almost snorted. Yeah, I get it, but honestly, I didn't care anymore. Click, 3 hours later, bam, an email from Amy, subject line, Carson update. I opened it. Basically, Rachel had called the place, bawling her eyes out, saying she was totally blindsided by the cancellation. She went off about how unfair and unethical it was and demanded to talk to the owner. Amy asked if I wanted to reply. Nah, I told her. I had a better idea. I hopped onto the venue's website and slipped a little note onto their homepage. Something like, please note, Lakeview Ridge is proud to host a private corporate event on April 27th. No wedding bookings will be honored on this date. That was their wedding day. I didn't need their names. Anyone looking to reschedule would see it. Every other venue around would think we were completely booked. I just quietly pulled the rug out from under all their backup plans. That evening, my aunt texted, Aunt Claire, hi, sweetheart, can we talk? Rachel's heartbroken, your mom's freaking out. I just stared at it for a minute, then I texted back. She'd said I'd ruin her pictures. I took that seriously. Then she ghosted me. Next morning, the family group chat blew up. Not my messages, theirs. My cousin sent me screenshots. My mom was livid. Blaming me, blaming Amy, even blaming Mercury being in retrograde. As far as I know, she went on and on about how this wasn't how family acted, how she'd gone out of her way to include me. Oh, he's been like this since high school, Rachel piped up, dropping a truth bomb. I always figured he'd find a way to make it all about him, somehow. Jealous. The word stung. It was like a slap, but also a punch, if that makes sense. Jealous of what exactly? Their perfect little show? She thrived on the endless fake love and all the backstabbing whispers. I built my whole life, all my stuff, by just quietly grinding away while they were busy striking poses and taking credit for things that I gave freely. And now I was the bad guy for, not letting them burn me again. So I made a call. I sent everything to Amy with a little note that said, go ahead and respond now. Tell them the owner reviewed it and nixed the rebooking, company policy. Then I grabbed the phone again and made another quick call. My buddy Carter runs a fancy catering company downtown, and he owed me. I asked him to do something for me on Saturday. Nothing huge, just a small corporate thing. 10 people, same day, same time, same place. He chuckled. You want me to book the whole place out on their wedding day? Not just book it, I told him. I want photos, Instagram the whole shebang, tag the place, hashtag the event. Make it look like the absolute best party ever. He was quiet for a beat. Damn, Kevin, you're really doing this. I grinned. They told me not to show up to their wedding, so I won't. But that didn't mean I couldn't make sure they knew I was there. Saturday came, and it was one of those days that brides dream about. The air was crisp, not a cloud in sight. The sun was perfect, filtering through the new leaves. The lake at Lakeview Ridge was like a mirror, and the white gazebo just sparkled in front of those cherry blossoms starting to bloom. It was all so perfect, right? And totally not what I was anticipating at all. I woke up early that day, not because I had to, but because I just wanted to enjoy every second. I took my sweet time in the shower, made the good coffee, even ironed a shirt just to kind of feel more put together, you know? Then I sat there by the window, phone in hand, watching the whole thing fall apart in front of me. The first post was from a distant cousin, Rachel's old college roommate. It was a confused selfie from inside her car. Is the place closed? She asked. Just got here and no one's answering the gate. Tell me I'm not the only one who didn't get a cancellation notice. I took a sip of my coffee. I refreshed the tag. More came flooding in. Bridesmaids, all done up in makeup, were standing outside the locked gate with their arms folded. Groomsmen in their rented tuxedos were just pacing around beside the cars. And a little flower girl was asleep in the back seat, her tiara sliding off her head. They hadn't told anyone. That was the thing I hadn't foreseen. I figured Rachel or even my mom would have done something, maybe sent a group text or something. But nope. They were so sure everything would be fine, so sure someone, me, would come in and save the day at the last minute that they didn't even give anyone a heads up. It was like entitlement had just frozen them. And then the one that made me burst out laughing appeared. Lakeview Ridge hosting a beautiful lakeside lunch for a special team today. It was a perfect day to celebrate, you know. Sunshine, a nice breeze, and delicious food for a big accomplishment. This was for a private, super fancy corporate event. There were 3 long tables with white tablecloths, crystal glasses, and waiters in black vests. In the background, a champagne pyramid. Almost hidden, but you could spot it, was Rachel's floral arch. It was for the dessert bar. The sign Rachel had made with an Etsy artist that said, Forever STARTS here, was flipped, and Carter's team changed it to read, Success starts here. I wish I could have seen her reaction. Around lunchtime, Amy called me. I answered right away. Kevin, she said, trying not to laugh. We have people trying to climb the side gate. I couldn't help but laugh. Tell me you're kidding. Nope, she said. One of the groomsmen thinks he knows someone inside. I told them it was a private event and security was on it. Did they bring the doves? Oh yes, 2 handlers and a crate. They're sitting on the curb looking totally bewildered. I chuckled, but slower this time. You've been incredible, Amy. Seriously, I owe you big time. She said, you don't owe me anything. This is the best Saturday shift I've had in ages. At 2:41 p.m., it all went down. My mom called. I let it go to voicemail. Then Rachel, then Brandon, then my aunt. I didn't pick up any of them. Instead, I opened the group text, the one I was still quietly in, even though they hadn't mentioned me in months. I typed out 2 simple words, you're welcome. And then I left the chat. That night, my little brother Eric called. He's the only one in my family who ever really saw me, you know. He wasn't at the wedding. He called the day after I took the money from their honeymoon fund. He said, if they're gonna act like you don't even exist, I'm not playing along like they're perfect. He kept it short, polite, but I heard it in his voice he was done too. His message was short and sweet. It just said, Eric. I saw the posts. I don't even know what to say, but I'm so proud of you. They needed that. He said he'd call back the next day, and for the first time I really felt it. Not just happy, not just relieved, but a sense of completion, you know, 'cause here's the deal. People like Rachel, like my mom, they build their whole lives around how things look, what people think. All the fancy stuff, the seating charts, the dress fittings, the stories they'll brag about over cocktails in a few years. What I did wasn't just some ruined wedding. I shattered their whole perfect image. No one's gonna remember that fancy dress. They're gonna remember standing outside that locked building in their heels for 2 hours. They'll remember the doves that never even got to fly, the brunch served to some business people while the wedding guests were stuck in the parking lot. All the whispers, the questions. Why didn't they pay? Didn't they have any help? And eventually, someone will realize, maybe Rachel wasn't the victim. Maybe the sister she tried to ignore just finally had enough. 2 days later, Mom showed up at my doorstep. She didn't knock, she practically beat the door down. I waited a second, then opened it real slow. She looked completely worn out. My mascara was all clumpy under my eyes, my jacket was a mess, and I was slouched over, but my voice, still sharp as a tack. "Think you proved something?" I practically snarled. "Nah," I said, real calm. "I know I did." She'd really put my sister through the ringer. I stared her down for a good long while. "She humiliated me," I said. "And you did too. For years, you figured I'd just keep taking it, always cleaning up your messes, staying quiet. Well, those days are over." She took a step closer, all ready to lay into me like she had some big speech prepared. But I didn't let her. "I bought the whole wedding venue. I paid for the honeymoon. I kept this family afloat when nobody else would. And you just wiped me out to make yourselves look good. So this time you're wiped out." She just stood there, shaking, speechless. Finally, I said, "Tell Rachel I'm not mad. I'm free. That's a way better present than anything on her registry." Then I slammed the door. A month went by, then two. Radio silence. Eric and I started grabbing dinner twice a week. We talked about work, about life, you know. We even laughed about that crazy wedding, the biggest disaster of the year. I got a few sneaky messages from people who were there, congratulating me without actually saying what they were congratulating me on. That was enough. I didn't need a big show, a public moment. I had peace. I had power. And for the first time in ages, I had a family I chose, not the one that tried to erase me from their perfect little picture. So I took that picture, that perfect family portrait, and I burned it.